Hare Krishna, dear Sankirtan devotees, spiritual warriors all over the world. Please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastrata Deshatarane. So, to begin with, I'd like to thank my very dear friend, Vaisheshika Prabhu, for requesting me to address all of you during this, your monumental effort to distribute 2 million books during this present Christmas Marathon, 2020. As I was contemplating what to say in this talk, I reflected that it's something comparable to the State of the Union address that every president of the United States gives once a year to the people of his country. In that address, he highlights the achievements of his government, addresses any serious problems facing the country, and sets out plans for how to address those problems during the upcoming year. So, of course, I don't hold any role in our movement comparable to a president, and I'm not addressing any particular population. But we do have our leader and founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, whose words ring true each year at this important time. He wrote to my godbrother, respected Rameshwara Prabhu, in the early 1970s. My dear Rameshwara, I beg to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated December 27th, 1972, and with great happiness I have read your figures of amount of books sold during the 3-day period of December 22nd to the 24th, 1972. It is scarcely believable that more than 17,000 books could have been sold by one temple in 3 days. This indicates to me that people are at last becoming a little serious about this Krishna conscious movement in your country. Otherwise, why they should buy our books? But they can see that our boys and girls, devotees, are so much sincere and serious to distribute the message of Krishna consciousness. They are at once struck by seeing them. And therefore, they appreciate and they purchase. This is unique in the world. So I am so much pleased upon all of the boys and girls in Los Angeles and all over the world who are understanding and appreciating this unique quality of our transcendental literature. And voluntarily, they're going out to distribute despite all circumstances of difficulty. By this effort alone, they are assured to go back home, back to Godhead. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So this was, of course, Srila Prabhupada's response to the first ever Christmas Marathon in 1972. And although it was written 48 years ago, the state of affairs that Srila Prabhupada outlined and the method he recommended to rectify the situation remain as real as ever. We're all aware of the general predictions for this age of Kali Yuga. Srimad Bhagavatam, 12th canto says, Then, O king, religion, truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, mercy, duration of life, physical strength, and memory will all diminish day by day because of the powerful influence of the age of Kali. But as we all know, during these last 10 months, these last 2 months have proven especially challenging, isn't it? For every single person on this planet, regardless of what country they come from. I need not repeat the relentless news bulletins broadcasting the devastating effects of the present pandemic in terms of disease, death, and social and economic disruptions. Each and every one of us is feeling the effects in one way or the other. But if we can imagine a silver lining, it's a nice word, if we can imagine a silver lining in this ongoing tragic situation, what would it be? It would be, as Srila Prabhupada wrote to Rameshwar Prabhu, quote, that people are at last becoming a little serious about this Krishna conscious movement in your country. And I'm sure he meant all over the world. And we might ask, why would anyone become serious about Krishna consciousness, or essentially about spiritual life? And Krishna answers that question perfectly in Bhagavad Gita. Quote, O best among the Bharatas, Arjun, 4 kinds of pious men render devotional service unto me. The distressed, there you go, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. So it's interesting, Krishna lists distressed people as the first persons who turn to him, to God, in times of difficulty. People try so many remedial measures to relieve themselves of distress. But unfortunately, they don't know that there is a panacea for all distress. Now, panacea is a strong word. The dictionary definition of panacea is, quote, a solution or remedy for all difficulties or diseases. And the word panacea comes from a Greek word meaning all healing. Now, I recently read a famous modern philosopher who wrote as follows, quote, in Greek society, Panacea was the goddess of healing. In the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, people searched for substances like the elixir of life, which was supposed to give eternal life, and the famous philosopher's stone, which would turn ordinary metals into gold. They also tried to come up with a panacea, a solution for all problems. And he concludes, but no such elixir or philosopher's stone was ever found, just as no panacea for all of a society's difficulties was ever or will ever be found. Unfortunately, the people living at the end of the Middle Ages and the beginning of the Renaissance, essentially the 15th century, when Lord Chaitanya was actually present, he appeared in 1486. Because of his presence and the gifts he gave, people were unaware that a real and veritable panacea actually existed during their lifetimes and up until now and beyond, 10,000 years into the future. And what is that panacea for all distress, for all problems? Kaler dosha nidhe rajan astiyeku mahaguna kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param vrajet. Srimad Bhagavatam. My dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there is still one good quality about this age. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can become freed from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. And that mantra, brought to earth by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we're all familiar with it. Very familiar with it. We are so fortunate. It took a unique form. That mantra took a unique form in and of itself at the end of the 20th century. And what was that form? Srila Prabhupada's books. How do we understand that his books are an expansion of the Mahamantra? Because book distribution has been described as Brihat Mridanga. Brihat Mridanga. Because in the books, the glories of the holy name are described, how to chant, the benefits you get, inspires people to take up chanting Hare Krishna. Brihat Mridanga spreads the glories of chanting all over the world. And actually this term, Brihat Mridanga, it was invented by Srila Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. On June 11th, 1969, I was listening to a lecture recently, this lecture. Prabhupada said, quote, my Guru Maharaj used to say that this press is Brihat Mridanga. Brihat means bigger, at large, bigger, Brihat Mridanga. just like we were playing mridanga. This mridanga can be vibrated in the neighboring quarter, but our mridanga, Back to Godhead magazine, that will go far, far away. So therefore, this press was considered by my Guru Maharaj as Brihat Mridanga, and he was very much fond of press, unquote. And I was reading that actually Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati used such a press from the very beginning of his mission. At that time he started with a weekly newspaper called the Gaudiya, and in time he was producing a daily newspaper called Nadia Prakash. And one day a very influential person in India at that time, his name was Madan Mohan Malaviya. He was the majority leader of India. He came to see Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. And during that visit, he saw a copy of Nadia Prakash on a table, and he picked it up, and he saw it was a daily newspaper. And he said to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, "Sir, what is this? A daily religious newspaper? How is that possible?" So Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he answered him as follows, and this is the actual quote. "In this mundane world, there are so many daily papers. We are told that in America, there are not only morning and evening papers, but newspapers published every hour. In Vaikuntha, there is 1,000 times more news than there is in this mundane world. So why is printing one daily paper about Vaikuntha a wonder? Thousands of daily papers about Vaikuntha may be continued. That much news comes from Vaikuntha. The news of Vaikuntha can overflood this mundane world. Overflood. Vaikuntha is infinite, and this world is finite. When a ray from the infinite world comes to this finite world, just imagine what it can do." So he said the news of Vaikuntha can overflood this world. Now we understand that whatever a pure Brahmana, Vaishnava says, that will come to pass. For when a Brahmana gives a blessing or utters a curse, neither can be retracted. Their words are so powerful and blessed by the Lord. In a lecture on September 30th, 1968, Srila Prabhupada addressed this principle. Quote, "God's name is Satya Sankalpa. Satya Sankalpa means that whatever he thinks, immediately it is present. Not only God, but those who have attained yogic perfection. They cannot desire like God, but almost. Such a transcendentalist, if he desires something that, I want this, immediately it is there. That is called Satya Sankalpa." So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, the news of Vaikuntha can overflood this world. That means it is possible. That means it is possible to distribute 2 million books in this marathon, if we hang on to his lotus feet and Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. It's in the same vein that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his proclamation in Chaitanya Bhagavat, that in every town and village throughout the world, the chanting of my name will be heard. And those aren't the only predictions that will come to pass. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, in his writings, he also made a very beautiful proclamation. Tilaka Vimala Mala Nama Yukta Pavitraha Hari Hari Kali Madhye Evam Evam Babuvaha. It's one of my favorites. From the time that the holy name of Hari became manifest on the earth, Vaishnav folk appeared everywhere, adorned with beautiful tilak and neck beads and equipped with the Maha Mantra. In this manner, they became present in the very midst of the age of Kali, and they purified the atmosphere chanting Hari Hari. Please allow me to recite that again. From the time that the holy name of Hari became manifest on earth, Vaishnav folk appeared everywhere, adorned with beautiful tilak and neck beads and equipped with the Maha Mantra. In this manner they became present in the very midst of the age of Kali, and they purified the atmosphere by chanting Hari, Hari. So the amazing thing, dear Sankirtan devotees, Sankirtan warriors, is that all of you are now part of that prediction of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. You are the living proof of his prediction. You are the Vaishnav folk who are playing the Brihat Mridanga all over the world. What an honor, what a privilege, what a blessing. Every moment, every minute, every hour, every day, every week of this month is so relishable, such a privilege. No doubt your efforts to distribute books at this present time in history are not easy. Such efforts are fraught with penance and austerities. In some places it's too hot, other places it's too cold, or you may often be rejected when approaching people. Or, perhaps even more realistically now, you're faced with the stark reality of a lockdown due to the present pandemic. I was just reading this morning that the mayor of Los Angeles is requiring everyone to stay home for 3 or 4 weeks, again, except for essential affairs. Where are the people? and you have the austerity. You can't leave your house either, your apartment, to distribute books. So confined to your quarters, your only means of distribution is what they call cold calling, cold calls. You call people up on the phone. Or you call up friends or associates of your friends or friends of your friends of your friends. If you think about it, the present times offer the greatest challenge, how to distribute the most books ever in a marathon. The present times offer the greatest challenge, how to distribute the most books ever in a marathon, when traditional methods of book distribution have ceased to exist, at least for the time being. Even in ordinary times, it would be a challenge to distribute 2 million books. They say when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Can dovetail that. Maybe a better statement is, desperate times require desperate measures. And in this light, let's quote Srila Prabhupada, tax your brains how to distribute my books. And you're doing that now. You have so much good guidance, so many empowered Sankirtan leaders all over the world, and we have our beloved Vaisheshika Prabhu heading us up as the general. And how are you doing it? You're innovating. As time goes on, we have to innovate how to spread Krishna consciousness because the times change, so the means of innovation have to be there without compromising our tradition. It's an art. So you're all doing that now by using the internet and all other forms of social media, and that is brilliant. And what will be the result of this incredible yajna, greater than many millions of ancient Aswamedha yajnas? Well, quite simply, people will come in contact with Prabhupada and Krishna. And what greater gift could there be during the Christmas season, when the motto is, in general, it's better to give than it is to receive. You're giving Prabhupada through his purports. And what is the benefit of having the association of Prabhupada? Beautiful verse in the 11th canto, 7th chapter, 44th verse, Bhagavatam. O king, a saintly person is just like water because he is free from all contamination, gentle by nature, and by speaking creates a beautiful vibration like that of flowing water. Just by seeing, touching, or hearing such a saintly person, the living entity is purified. Just as one is cleansed by contact with pure water, thus a saintly person, just like a holy place, purifies all those who come in contact, who contact him, because he always chants the glories of the Lord. And by sharing Srila Prabhupada and Lord Krishna with the people of this world, your own lives become blessed, beyond your wildest imagination. And how so? Well, that was stated by Prabhupada in his Christmas marathon letter to Rameshwara. By this effort alone, they are assured to go back home, back to Godhead. So please, give this present marathon your all in all. In that regard, it's an opportunity to experience Atma-nivedanam, or full surrender. As we know, there's 9 processes of devotional service: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Shmaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandham, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma-nivedanam, beginning with hearing and chanting. And we experience the first 8 quite simply through a normal morning program. But the 9th process, Atma-nivedanam, or surrendering everything to Krishna, those opportunities may happen only in select times, such as a Christmas marathon, when you're meant to give your all in all. And when you consider the goal of life, loving service to the divine couple, Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, such opportunities must be embraced wholeheartedly. And that is the advice of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. In his purports to the Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita, he writes, and I quote, "In the teachings of Sriman Mahaprabhu, there are only 2 principal instructions. Develop a taste for chanting the holy names and display compassion for the fallen souls." So all of you devotees, wherever you are in the world right now, if you're participating in this marathon, even in the smallest way, you're in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. Because Sankirtan is all auspicious. It's not working under the modes of nature, like anything and everything in this world. By serving Srila Prabhupada's heart's desire, this wanting to give the people of this world Krishna consciousness through his books, to distribute these books all over the world, you are elevated to a transcendental position. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, by serving Prabhupada's order, you're fulfilling this verse in Bhagavad Gita. You're demonstrating it. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. As such, all of you will be blessed to experience many of what my god sister Yamuna Deva used to call magic moments. Every devotee knows what I'm talking about, a Sankirtan devotee. There's always those magic moments that just kind of transcend mundane reality, such as seeing a conditioned soul show a sincere interest in Krishna consciousness after lifetimes of forgetfulness, or seeing a person spend their hard-earned money on a priceless piece of transcendental knowledge, or hearing someone at the other end of the telephone who's lonely and desperate after months of lockdown find shelter in your association, in your words, the philosophy, an opportunity to purchase a book. So by sharing Krishna consciousness in these ways, all of you will experience the higher taste of devotional service. That's unique to sharing you'll experience that higher taste which nothing else in this world compares to, giving your good fortune to others. You'll truly be witness to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's words, as we heard earlier. When a ray from the infinite world comes to the finite world, just imagine what it can do. So you're going to see that. So the wonderful world of Krishna consciousness awaits you all. What wonderful things will you discover by participating in this glorious and first time ever attempt to distribute 2 million of Prabhupada's books? What you'll discover. Just like Sri Rupa Goswami in Utkalika Valari, text 66, he gives us this understanding how in Krishna consciousness we discover so many wonderful things. He writes, O handsome, fragrant Tamal desire tree, blooming in Vrindavan forest, and embraced by the Madhavi vine of the goddess ruling this forest. O tree, the shade of whose glory protects the world from a host of burning sufferings. What wonderful fruits do the people find at your feet. So get out there, or get on your phone or on the social media. Don't waste a moment. Finally, I want to take the opportunity to, again, offer all of you, each and every one of you, spiritual warriors, my most humble obeisances for your wonderful efforts. It's a beautiful verse by one of my favorite Vaishnava poets, Devaki Nandana Das, from several hundred years ago. Shakala Vaishnava Pade Mora Namaskara Iti Kichu Aparada Nahuka Amara Hoyachen Hoiben Prabhur Jato Bhakta Vrinda Bandana Kori Shabara Charanara Vinda. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of all Vaishnavas, praying I may not commit offenses in my attempts to please them. To all Vaishnavas who have ever been, to all Vaishnavas who will ever be, I offer my obeisances to the lotus feet. Vaisheshika Prabhu, thank you once again. This is one of my favorite talks of the year. It really is. And I'm so proud of all these devotees, young and old, who are pleasing Srila Prabhupada so much. Prabhupada was so pleased by hearing 17,000 books distributed during the marathon in 1972. Imagine how pleased Srila Prabhupada is going to be when he hears that 2 million of his books have been distributed in the marathon, December marathon 2020, and how he would reciprocate with all the participants, all the devotees in this movement, how the world will be blessed. So I've taken up my time. Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Transcendental book distribution, key. Back home, back to Godhead, key. Take all the fallen souls, all the fallen conditioned souls with us, every single one of them, back to Goloka Vrindavan. We'll present them to Srila Prabhupada, that master at whose feet all masters sit. Thank you. Hare Krishna. All the best.